Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and this is Lost in the Wasteland. And I'm joined here by one of my closest friends, Haley. Haley and I have known each other now since you were a sophomore in college, and I think I was a senior in college.
Like
And that
2013.
was 6 years ago, I think. Crazy. But Haley's joining us, and we're going to be hearing a little bit about her film perspective. So I'm excited because we love talking about movies. So if you're ready, Haley, I'm going to start off with the questions.
Sounds good.
So starting off is pretty straightforward and simple. What is your favorite film?
So I saw that you wrote this question, and on the one hand, it should be so easy, but really, I'm definitely one of those people who I appreciate movies for so many different reasons that I have like a variety of favorites. Obviously, like Lion King, Always and Forever, probably my favorite like childhood movie.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna like say my favorite movie that I would like want to recommend to people and that basically I would show to pretty much anybody regardless of who it is um might have to be Snatch.
And I
I
did watch that because of you.
Yes, I mean it's one of the it's understated. I kind of like that it's not a movie everyone's seen because I've had the opportunity to show it to multiple people and everybody loves it, like without exception. It's got a lot of like awesome people in it, and they do an amazing job in their very like quirky roles, and it's just fun, like always fun. The fifth time I see it, the 20th time I see it, I'm still dying every time.
You like Dags?
I like Dex.
Brad Pitt in that movie is absolutely ridiculous, and I
Yeah,
love
I mean,
every single second he's on screen.
he makes it.
And it's so awesome because I don't know if you got a chance to see this, but The Gentleman that came out earlier this year, it made me
No.
really happy to see Guy Ritchie doing gangster movies again because, like, I enjoy the Sherlock Holmes movies and I had fun with the new Aladdin movie. And I liked King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, a
Mm.
lot more than I thought I was going to. But it's always fun seeing him do all of his smart, snappy, just chaotic gangster movies.
Right. An emphasis on chaotic because if you watch that movie, you need to strap yourself in and you just need to be ready to get taken on like a ride because you get on there, it's just one thing after another. It's like relentless. It's a relentless movie, and then suddenly it's over, and you're like, "What just happened to me? What time is it?"
Between that, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, it's just so much fun. You got Jason Statham, Brad Pitt,
Mm-hmm.
just so many great actors, and it's so much fun. I'm so glad you showed me that because I think that what, well, I think I saw the Sherlock Holmes movie before I saw that, so I guess technically that's my first Guy Ritchie movie. But like, I felt like watching Snatch was like the first time I watched like a Guy Ritchie movie.
The pure essential Guy Ritchie. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Haley, what's your earliest memory of going to the movies?
I was trying to think about this. I loved the movies as a little kid, and I can't remember like one particular movie, but I do remember my like old hometown theater before I
Mhm.
moved for the first time. And I remember like the thing that stuck in my head the most was that like movie popcorn was just better somehow than the one you make at home. Like you cannot get that popcorn anywhere else. Yeah, and my parents, they took me to all the like classic little kid movies,
Mhm.
so I got to see all the Disney ones. But I think like what I want my answer to be for this is like kind of a funny little anecdote.
Okay.
um when I was so you might know this. Do you know when AVP came out? Alien versus Predator? Like it was a while ago.
It had to be early 2000s, if
Like
I'm
I want to say 2003 or 4.
gonna
Like
fact check
yeah,
that.
please do. because so I'm currently 26 and I was a young child when this movie came out.
2004.
Okay, yeah. So I would have been in fourth grade. So let's say 8 years old. Um, and I saw the advertisements for that movie. Like, they always have the big, like, cardboard cutout things. And I saw that, and I had never seen Alien or Predator. I had no idea what an epic mashup it was. I just thought, look at these cool monsters.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to see that movie. But my parents, like, had zero interest in seeing it. And my aunt, like, I had, like, the cool aunt whose son is, like, close to me in age, and he's like my brother.
Mhm.
So my cousin, who's 2 years younger than me, so he would have been 6. We wanted to see this movie, like, we really did, and I think it was rated R. And
Pretty
but
sure it
my
was.
I have a little sister who's 3 years younger than me. She would have been 5, and my aunt bought my cousin and I tickets to AVP. And then she went to, like, some little kid movie with my sister, but there was this moment when my cousin and I, just the two of us, walked into AVP together by ourselves, watched the movie, came back out as 8 and 6, and, like, thought it was literally the coolest thing ever. I mean, I don't think that was a very good movie, but I remember that being, like, I remember that whole experience and how intoxicating it was to, like, get to be on our own and see
Yeah.
this, like, big kid movie that we really wanted to see. And we just thought, like, I was team Alien and he was team Predator, so Alien's way cooler. That's just where I stand.
It's and it's interesting because it's like it's one of those moments where it's just like, wouldn't it be so cool if this thing fought that thing and they actually
Yeah.
did it? And I've never actually seen Alien versus Predator. I've probably seen like pieces of it on like TV and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I think it's funny because my mom questioned her parenting when she took me to see Shrek when I was 10 years old. Because like there's some dirty jokes in that movie. You just don't know it when you're a kid. And but like being 8 years old and walking in to see Alien versus Predator, it's pretty impressive. It was like when I watched The Godfather when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it was a bad choice. Like, I don't to this day, I don't know if my parents know that we did that, but
Mhm.
it was really, like, a highlight of my early childhood. And I will always remember that as, like, the first movie I chose and got to go to, like, on my own. No regrets.
No regrets. Now, Haley, what's your favorite genre of film?
So, because I already told you one of my favorite movies of all time is Snatch, I think I definitely go toward, like, fast-paced movies, movies that are deep, unpredictable. It's kind of hard to, like, pin down an exact genre because I think a lot of movies can fall under that category.
Mhm.
Um, but I would say that I like action, but I also really like, things that get in your head, really,
Mhm.
like, mental movies. So other top ones for me are Memento,
I knew you were going to say that.
of course. I mean, another movie that just won't stop, from the first second to last second, you are, like, on a trip. Um, what is it called? Bad Times at El Royale. I felt that way about, just, like, intense. I like movies that go there. They know what they're trying to do and they do it relentlessly. Um,
Poor Jeff
because
Bridges.
yeah, I mean, I want to feel like I'm on a trip
Mhm.
when I go to the movies. And not always. Like, there are times to go see, like, the cute little fluffy things, but I'm not really a fluff person. I'm gonna experience something. I want it to be, like, pack a punch. Same reason I like scary movies.
And we talk about scary movies plenty.
Yes. I mean, that's definitely, like, a top genre for me. If I'm gonna go to the theater, I want it to either be, like, a big budget or, like, really intense movie that has a good director, a good cast, or just, like, even a crappy scary movie, because at least I know I'm gonna get some kicks out of it.
Yeah, Jess and I went to go see a horror movie at a drive-in on Halloween. And
Oh,
this,
what'd you see?
I saw Come Play,
Oh, nice.
and Larry, our buddy living inside the world beyond our phones and our screens everywhere. It felt fun being on Halloween, going to see a horror movie at a drive-in, and this drive-in being in the middle of the woods and just being like, "Yep, this feels like Halloween." And it's like I get what you mean. It's like I miss going to the theaters a lot, like a
Yeah,
lot, because I basically lived at the movies. But
right.
like when you get to go see like a big movie, and like it was even like watching Mulan on my TV
Mm,
on Disney Plus was not the same as like I would have wanted to see that on like a big screen.
the
And
Dolby sound effects.
exactly, and it's just like and Tenant, I saw at a drive-in with the screen draped across a shipping container. So like it was an interesting experience. The one positive was I could adjust the sound because otherwise that would have been really intense listening to Tenet in a movie theater,
That's
which
true.
Christopher Nolan though. Now, Haley, who is your favorite filmmaker?
This was an easy one for me, and it's gonna sound surprising probably based on everything I've said so far, but I am a Wes Anderson girl. And like, I don't think that it completely conflicts because in my head, again, the movies are a trip. And again, this guy knows what he's doing and he is like unforgivably himself. He doesn't ask like what people want. He's like, this is what I'm doing. And you
Exactly.
can come or not.
Like
Yeah,
show one frame from a Wes Anderson movie, you know you're watching a Wes
you know
Anderson.
what you're watching. And they are like, they're a lot of fun. You never know what's going to happen
Mhm.
ever. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
No,
And I love that. I mean, they're always quirky and weird, but also like, I don't know. I smile so much even thinking about them, which you need some of that in your life. Just a reason to kind of like giggle a little.
and like I'm looking right across at my other wall here, and I have a Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, and Life Aquatic posters right
Mm,
across the top there because I love Wes Anderson too, and like I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like
yeah.
if I just want to watch something and just have a blast, throw that on.
Yeah, I actually recommend that oftentimes if I'm in a group of people who were just like, ah, what do we watch? And it's like that or Rango if I don't think that
Rango.
people want something very serious, because to me, both of those are just like endless fun. Again, movies that I could just kick back and watch anytime and enjoy,
Just
just
like,
like I did the first time.
oh my God. And I actually say the cuss you are and cluster cuss and just do
Yeah.
that instead of actually cursing because it's more fun. And like Grand Budapest is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
Oh man, it has everything. Like it even has like the creepy chase with Willem Dafoe and Jeff Goldblum, and like
Thumb or
such
the finger.
just like him just chucking his cat out the window. It's
Yeah.
terrible. And he's just and like Jeff Goldblum's like, what, what? And just like, oh,
Throw my
Jeff
cat out the
Goldblum.
window.
And Ray Fiennes in that is an amazing delight. And you can tell he's loving every single moment being in that movie. And you love it too, because he's just that
Heck yeah.
charming. But I definitely like when I that was one of my most anticipated films of the year was The French Dispatch. That was supposed to be
Mm.
coming out this year. So 2021.
I'll
So
wait for it. It's fine.
So I think I know the answer to this next question, which is who is your favorite actor, actress? And I think it's Christian Bale.
Ha. You're hysterical. See, this is when you know that you're close to somebody, because it's some people might know your favorite actor, actress, but then it takes a special person who's been really close to you for a long time to know the people that you don't like. And to the point where you can make a joke and that you can see my face go,
It's similar to when I brought up, like, I could bring up Ethan Hawke to Jess, and automatically she was like, and also
I
my brother. So they have one thing in common. They both hate Ethan Hawke.
I mean, I'm fine with Ethan Hawke. He did a great job in Sinister. You gotta give him that.
Well, the thing is, he is a really talented actor, and like he's had an interesting career. And Jess's problem is like he just looks like a guy that wandered onto a movie set one time, should never have been famous, but somehow became like a famous actor.
I mean, I get where Jess often makes very poignant observations, and I think I could I could be convinced about Ethan Hawke. Yeah.
Now, joking aside, it is not Christian Bale, but
Yes.
who is your favorite actor or actress?
Well, I feel like she hasn't been in like that many things that I've seen lately. Liz, like normally I always just say Ellen Page because I love Ellen Page. The stuff that she has been in, I just love her as a human. So I'm just biased by how much I love her as a person.
We watched Super together.
Yes, there you go. Again, just stuff like that. I mean, like people know Juno. I think she was in that like girl roller skating movie. Like she's been in and
Mhm.
Inception. She was good in that.
Mhm.
But like I think of Super. I think of her and Rainn Wilson just like making no one else could have made that movie. It had to be them
No.
because of who she is and how this character that they're always making her play. So yeah, I mean that's kind of like my default answer, but maybe based on things that I've seen more lately, I'm a big Jeff Bridges fan. Like I just love him.
Dude
I've
abides.
I literally keep making people watch True Grit with him.
What good's a gun if it ain't loaded?
Yes. And just that gold. Like for me, that's absolute gold. So yeah, fan of him. I think I've really been appreciating uh some of the like honestly some of these people that I know it's cliche, but now that I've all these Marvel movie stuff and everything came out, like you get actors and actresses that can go in like one direction or another. Am I right in saying was Lupita? Has she been in I'm thinking of Us.
Yeah, she was in, well, she was in Us. She was in Black Panther.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I love that range. You know, you've got these because the Marvel movies you've got like the typical like Chris Evans and like these but then
Chris
you've also got
Hemsworth.
these like really strong like side characters that you then recognize in other things that I like way more. Like
Mhm.
obviously, well, I love Black Panther, don't get me wrong. That might be my favorite Marvel movie, but then you see her in Us and she's just like so good.
We are the tethered.
Also, just such a good movie. So yeah, like I've been appreciating like the Marvel universe for given some exposure to some really good people who I can then kind of like see in other things and they do a great job.
It's crazy how many, like, just certain casting is just so amazing. And it's just like, get Kurt Russell just popping in as like Chris Pratt's dad in a Marvel movie,
Why
or
not?
like Anthony Hopkins is in superhero movies, like Glenn
Anthony Hopkins can do
Close.
anything.
Like, it's just, it's crazy how like what actors are actually in Marvel movies now. And I think that's really cool. And it's interesting because I know they're really expanding what they're doing with Marvel and all kinds of crazy things. But like, I think a lot of people just feel like it's fun to be in a Marvel movie and
Yeah.
it's fun seeing them there.
And
So
then they get that exposure to sort of like go off and do other things that I think probably challenge them more, but that ultimately, yeah, like open up these doors for them that they can take advantage of then.
we're in a strange time. You have like Werner Herzog being in like Star Wars TV shows. Like he was
Why
in The
not?
Mandalorian, and honestly, probably the only reason he did that was so they bankroll some of his documentaries.
And good for him. I hope
Good
it
for
works
him.
out. I really do.
It's like it's a cool thing, and like Lupita Nyong'o is a fantastic actress between like
I
12
love her.
Years a Slave, Us. Like, she has a really great career ahead of her. So I'm looking forward to seeing her in more things.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Now, what film could you watch literally every day and not get sick of?
So I literally did used to watch Lion King every day as a little kid. I had the VHS and one of those little TVs that like I learned how to use because it was a very simple process. Um, and my parents kind of like gave me access to a repertoire of like movies so that I could entertain myself before we had the smartphones, 90s kid stuff. And yeah, I literally did watch that movie over and over and over again. And yet, like, if someone were ever to say, "Hey, do you want to watch Lion King?" I'd be like, "Yeah. What time is it? I don't care. Like, let's do it. Let's do it right
Do
now.
it right now.
Google it. Like, is it on YouTube? I'll watch it."
I feel like thinking about like Disney movies and growing up in the 90s, it's like I've watched Beauty and the Beast so many times. So
Yeah.
many times. And it's like you get to love some of those movies and you just watch them. Apparently, my brother would just go around being like, "It's a girl," for all the time from.
That's such a good observation, though, because I do think, like, in our upbringing, we had to watch things over and over again. It was typical. So I mean, a lot of the newer movies, I just don't have the opportunity to watch them over and over again, even if I like them. But I think like I can literally answer you when I say that I watched Lion King probably like 100 times in a year,
Mhm.
like all the time. It's just like what I did, and I still love it to this day.
It's a great movie. So, Haley, I really enjoyed this question. And what film do you feel like you really connect with that's linked to another interest of yours?
This is a really good question. Because I think in general, like I treat movies as an escape.
Mhm.
However, there are definitely things that I feel like hit me just a certain way because of like my interests or what I do like in life. So I work at an immigration law firm, and like immigration law has been one of my primary passions throughout like my academic career. Um, Now, obviously, I'm living it day to day.
Mhm.
And so I think like there are like obvious movies that hit this, and one of the ones that came to my mind right away was Sin Nombre, which I don't know how popular that movie is. It's a rough one. It's about basically a gang member in MS-13 who just tries to leave the gang by going onto La Bestia, which is the train, um, and like he gets on that train on top with a bunch of the other migrants, and just he meets another person fleeing along the way, and they like become friends, but it's just really raw, really real. um it's sad, but I think it's a really fair depiction of you know what what a lot of people are running from,
Mhm.
which it's the sort of thing people should really be exposed to. Obviously, I'm profoundly biased. uh, there's a reason I learned Spanish, but like, I think that movies oftentimes, there are other movies that I've seen more recently that I think paint like kind of a broader picture, and they're more about like creating the happy ending. But it's like,
Mhm.
no, a lot of these things are like tough, and like, you know, it's important to conceptualize these things and to put yourself into into their shoes. There's another movie that I saw that did a good job, and I'm like, I didn't know if I should mention it or not because I don't remember the name.
Uh-huh.
It was something like, and I saw it in Spain when I was studying abroad. It was like, it's a foreign film, definitely not American. And so Sin Nombre was obviously in Spanish.
Mhm.
And this movie, I think, was in like yet a different language, but then in with Spanish subtitles. I think it was called something like Deep Deepak or something. It was a name, the guy's name, but it was about some like Southeast Asian migrants who were again just trying to make a go of it. And I also thought it was a very raw and important depiction, like just to put you in their shoes, because it's unless you literally spend time with immigrants going through that process, you have no idea what it's like. And obviously these are dramatized depictions,
Yeah.
but I think like from my experience with the immigrant populations, I felt like these depictions were fair and true. Um, if I can find it later, because it was like a foreign person's name and I can't remember, but if I think of it or if I can find it, I couldn't find it in the last few hours, but
Yeah,
I will send it to you.
I appreciate recommendations. So
Exactly.
there's one film that I watched this year. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Seen way too many movies this year. Remember Lena Headey was in it, so I'm trying to. It was called The Flood, and Lena Headey plays like a hardened immigration officer interrogating this man who's trying to seek asylum and trying to figure out like if his story was like legit and
Mhm.
like if they should allow him to stay. And it was a really moving film. I think I watched it on Amazon, either Amazon or Hulu. It was on there, but and like I remember because sometimes you get caught onto a movie because like you see somebody like you recognize,
Mhm.
and like Lena Headey's in it, who's Cersei from Game of Thrones, and then Ian Glenn, I think it was, who's Ser Jorah in Game of Thrones, was also in it. And I'm just like, oh look,
Oh.
Game of Thrones people. But also
Yeah.
looks like my printer's going off, so if you guys can hear that, I apologize.
It's a soothing sound.
I don't know if somebody's printing right now or it just wants to like be a printer, but sometimes it just wants to. But I'll definitely have to check out, especially that first one that you mentioned.
Sin nombre. It's like
So
without a name is the translation. But I need to watch the movie you're talking about because that sounds like it would be really interesting.
now, what movie character do you feel like you connect with on a personal level?
So, I mean, I feel like again, there's so many ways to answer this,
Mhm.
but the older I get, the more I appreciate, I'm going back to my Wes Anderson thing. The more I appreciate Moonrise Kingdom
Mhm.
and like so I care a lot. Everybody cares a lot about like the two little kids who are the main characters. And on the one hand, I relate very much to these two little kids who are just like trying to live their lives and be themselves and like the heck with everybody else.
Yeah.
Um, but like the older I get, the more I just empathize so much with uh the parents and even like Bruce Willis's character and that camp counselor, like the things that I love about that movie specifically,
Mhm.
like it has this really fun way of depicting the kids, but then something super real about the adults and how they're like just trying to get through it. And like my 2020 has been like when Bill Murray takes that axe and it's just like, where are you going? I'm just gonna chop down a tree, and he's got like a handle of alcohol, and he just goes outside.
Let's not
And
forget he walks down without a shirt on
yeah,
and in
in
pants
pajama pants.
with
Yeah.
an axe and a bottle of alcohol.
So yeah. I mean, this is my joke answer because like obviously I don't I mean, those characters are clearly flawed, but I thought I'd bring it up because I saw that question. I thought like it's funny. I mean, it's 2020. Like it's a different time. If you had asked me this in 2019, my answer would have been different, but
Mhm.
it's 2020. It's the elections happening tonight. I work in immigration law. Like I might need to chop down a tree after this. When normally I would actually say I identify with the Lorax as my like spirit animal. I'm a vegetarian for 10 years. I like, you know, used like a reusable plastic or a reusable metal fork Like everywhere I go, I don't try not to reuse things too much. So normally I'm like the Lorax all the way, but right now, oof, what
Bill
with
Murray from
2020,
Moonrise
how's it going?
Kingdom.
Bill
No shirt,
Murray.
pajama pants, alcohol, and an axe.
It also helps that I work at a law firm and they're both lawyers, so that adds a dimension to it.
And that's an interesting little point to add there too. Now, what film do you feel like people would be surprised to find out that you like?
I mean, all the horror movies. I think people who get to know me don't expect me to love horror movies, just like they don't expect me to like hardcore, like post-hardcore music. um, but I think that probably I mean, all scary movies are equal, but I do think that there are people who will say, like, okay, like, oh, you like scary movies, but the fact that I would list Hereditary as like one of the best movies maybe that I've ever seen, like across genres, that says something about you as a person. Maybe not necessarily a good thing, but it's just true. Like you can't really
Well, like
deny it.
this past week's show was with my friend Paige, who's Jess's best friend, and we talked extensively about why The Witch is her favorite film of all time, and we talked about why she hates The Lighthouse.
I
And
have not seen that yet. You recommended it, but I just haven't been in the right headspace. The
Jess and I
Bill Murray
rewatched
in me
it
can't
last week.
handle it.
It's A24 horror movies are next level kinds of stuff, so that's completely understandable. But it's interesting because it's like they wouldn't expect that from you, just being like loving these hardcore horror films. And also, fun little fact here, because I'm 6'1", like 6'3" with my hair, if I want to count that. And how tall are you, Haley?
4'11" and 3/4. We
So,
are quite a pair.
and I started a running joke that we were Rocket and Groot.
Yes,
So
forever.
So we did a freshman seminar together, and Haley did most of the talking, and I might as well have just been like, "I am rude" during those meetings. But
Definitely short person syndrome overcompensating. But I also have to overcompensate and act like I'm brave by watching the scary movies. Like,
I'm definitely not.
it's
I
definitely not my morbid instinct or anything like that.
because like I was talking about the Babadook on the podcast this week,
Mhm.
and I curled up in a ball midday watching that for the first time. It was bad. So And this is actually my last question for you, Haley. And I really love this question, but what do you love most about movies?
Yeah, I touched upon this because I think it's, for me, very clear. It's for the same reason I love to read, which I love to read.
Mhm.
I think I like, first of all, to stretch my mind. Like, I remember the first time I saw The Matrix, like, again, I was young, but that movie changed the way I saw the world on some level. Like, it opened up possibilities of thought that I could not imagine. Um, and now, as I get older, I think movies can be a really great way to experience art. They can be just a really great way to take a second and forget what is going on in real life. As you might imagine, someone working at a law firm, like with immigration law, you might sometimes need to get away a little bit.
Mhm.
And movies are definitely that for me. They're just, moving art. And also, like, as somebody who's a big empath, I like to give my feelings a bit of a workout sometimes.
Mhm.
And this is something that it's hard to explain, but I think this is why I actually like scary movies and also like really intense movies, because I think you can exercise your emotions like you can exercise your muscles. It's good to kind of like, it's okay to get super sad sometimes, or like go through like something really like almost traumatizing, but it gives you that range and it allows you to feel those things and experience them in a healthy, safe way, and then move on with your life. So I think for me, movies, like from an experiential standpoint, are an opportunity for me to just sit down and choose how I'm going to feel,
Mhm.
give myself an opportunity to experience something super novel and entertaining, but like convenient because it's fast. Obviously, you can read a good book, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So that's my answer.
And that's a great answer. And sometimes I just feel like wanting to jump through the screen and strangling Nurse Ratched. And sometimes you just need to have that feeling sometimes. And I feel that every time I watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Like,
Mm,
I legitimately get angry watching that movie every time I watch it. And sometimes you just need to have that. Sometimes
hmm.
you just need to curl up in a ball and get freaked out by the Babadook and just lay there, just traumatized.
Why can't you just be normal, Shane?
Well, it's just, and that's the wonderful thing about movies and why I love movies so much and why I watch so many of them and
Hmm.
talk about them all the time. So now you get to ask Wasteland Reviewer a question. So, what's your question?
Oh, I didn't know I would get to do this, but it's a good opportunity. Okay. All right, here's what I'm going to do. So, you also are the type of person who is willing to both read the book and watch the movie. This is a thing for me. I'm very much that person who's like, book, book 9.9 times out of 10 better. What would you say is one movie that makes it like the book shouldn't have even existed? Like it just does such a better job.
See, I thought I was going to have an answer to the question I thought you were going to ask. And now I have to rethink of that because I was expecting what movie do you think's better than the book? And my answer would, and people are going to kill me, is The Shining.
Mm,
And I read The Shining and I think it's a great novel and Stephen King's great. But there's something special about what Stanley Kubrick does with that film. But that's not a fair answer to the question you asked because that book should still exist. And oh, that's a good one. Like I thought it was an intriguing book. Do androids
mm,
dream of electric sheep?
that's a good one though.
But would I be sad if that disappeared and I was only left with Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049? Because I think I can make that trade because there's something special about Blade Runner. Like an easy one would have been Jaws because like the the book isn't exactly like a classic
How do you really
novel.
do a shark attack in the pages of a book?
And like Steven Spielberg did something special with that.
Mm.
But for something that like I don't even know if I've actually read the book Jaws, but like I've read Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, and I think Blade Runner does something so much more with it. And to be honest, I've never actually seen the original Blade Runner like
Oh,
theatrical cut,
oh,
like
I
the
don't know if I've
actual.
seen
Oh
that.
yeah, I've seen Blade Runner.
I was
I've
like,
only
Shane.
seen the final cut. And one of the best purchases I ever made, $2, Black Friday, Blade Runner, the final cut. And from Walmart, it was either Walmart or Best Buy. I'm a huge shop for movies on Black Friday kind of person. So I'm always looking for my deals and couple weeks.
Mm.
But the thing is, it's like see, Ridley Scott did something special with Blade Runner, and I think it kind of transcends the book to the point that I don't think most people realize it was a book.
Yeah. I mean, I forget about it because of
Oh
what
yeah,
you said. Can I take this second to plug a great book?
go right ahead.
All right, because we talked about this and I'm following up on it now.
Mhm.
Cloud Atlas. Wow, people. If you went out there and watched the movie, okay, cool. But the book is amazing. I started reading it like 30 separate times and never got past like the fourth page, but I owned it. And I was like, I've been told this is a good book. Well, it is one of the most unique things I've ever read. I have like said aloud multiple times that I think the author must love himself very much, but he might just deserve that love. Like, he is audacious in writing that book, and like I kind of respect him for it. Like, normally I'd be like, you know, when people are just pretentious about how good they are at writing and you're like, ah, just
Mhm.
get over yourself. I'm not over him. Like, I'm impressed. I am very impressed by that book. It is unlike anything I've read before, and there I've been like up and down with it and like deciding how I feel, and at the end I can confidently say that like it's stuck with me and I will continue to think about it uh for a long time. I It's the kind of book that makes me not even want to watch the movie. I'm actually that way about Clockwork Orange. Like, I read it, I just will never watch it. I don't know. I'm like, book's good enough for me.
The thing with so like Stanley Kubrick never made great adaptations of things. He just took books and was like, I like the idea, and just like made a Kubrick film
Mm-hmm.
because I've read the book and I think it's amazing. And the film is some next level, like Stanley Kubrick. And it's
Mm.
just one of the most unnerving experiences you could ever watching a film.
It would have to be because it's unnerving just to read it.
And the fact that Stanley Kubrick made that language work and
See,
like
that's why I don't want to even watch Cloud Atlas. It's the same thing. I'm like, come on, you can't make that work.
the Cloud Atlas film I really enjoy, but you can definitely tell that it had to be something hard to adapt because like it doesn't always work.
You gotta read it because it just, you'll be shocked by how it does work.
It's on my it's on my to read list. It's on my Amazon wish list. And like to kind of flip your question, like there's one book that I just wish that they would just do a real adaptation of and just really capture the spirit of the novel and its I Am Legend.
Mm,
Because there's been three adaptations, none of them do justice to the book. And like one of them's like a classic Vincent Price kind of horror film, the last man on earth. And then you
mm.
have Charlton Heston's Omega Man, which like casting Charlton Heston in it sets a completely different tone to the movie that you're watching. And then there's the Will Smith one, which like Will Smith is amazing in that movie,
For sure.
but where's the vampires?
Yeah, right. It's not the story at all. It's just
No.
something else. They made a different movie and took the title.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
like I want to see scenes and this is gonna sound horrible, of Neville being brutally harassed by his best friend, who is
Yeah.
now a vampire. I want to see vampires trying to seduce him from outside. Like that psychological horror is terrifying. And none of those movies capture that, and also never capture how dark the ending of the book is,
True.
because it really turns your perspective on its head. And I think it's a powerful thing, and it can work as a film.
Absolutely. It's
It's
a good
just
point. It would work. I mean, people could do it. Someone could take it on and do a great job. They just haven't.
I think I think they're probably afraid to make something that dour at this point, and like for some reason they decide to make them just a bunch of mute, honestly more like zombie things in the Will Smith movie. But
Oh yeah, I if someone had like not told me that it's meant to be based on this book about vampires and then I read it, I would have never known that they were vampires.
because they're definitely not vampires in the movie,
No.
and of course they give him a dog, because like the dog in the book's like a small part of the book and it's not actually his dog, but damn them in that scene.
I know.
But this was a lot of fun, Haley. And I'm really enjoying doing these Lost in the Wasteland shows. And also, it's a nice way to catch up with people during our
Right.
lovely, lovely pandemic life right now.
So
And
true.
hopefully, when things all, when we go to the Winchester and wait for it all to blow over, and I could actually come up to Boston and see you. Also,
Yes.
enjoy your snow.
It did snow. It snowed a lot.
Well,
And
yesterday here, it was 29 degrees with the wind chill. And I'm just like, if it was raining, it would have been snowing here.
yeah,
Crazy
that
time. It's just barely November.
I know.
But thank you so much for joining me on the show, Haley.
You
And
are
thank
very
you all for
welcome.
tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.